Hi, I'm Dave Bundy, editor of the Lincoln Journal-Star, and this is our editorial board endorsement interview with Troy Hawk, who is a candidate for the Clerk of District Court in Lancaster County. Troy, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Before we have you do all the talking, we'll have Kent introduce himself for readers.
Yeah, I'm Kent Walgamot. I write about arts and entertainment, and I've been on the editorial board for more than a decade.
So, Troy, there's nothing you can say that won't shock him. Well,
okay.
I can't guarantee that, but all right. Well, again, Troy, thanks for being with us. First question is an introductory one, a good way to let voters know about you. So, why do you want this office, and then what experiences and attributes qualify you for it?
Well, I've been the clerk for about 9 years. I was previously appointed by the Lancaster County Board when the previous clerk retired, and have stood for re-election twice. This will be my third time. So, I think I bring a lot of experience to this job. I think I've started a lot of initiatives, both technological and personnel related within the office, that I'm really excited to see through. I think we're really headed in a great direction, and I want to continue that, and see some of these projects through to fruition. As far as the attributes and experiences I bring, I was an officer in the Air Force for a little over 12 years, so I had the leadership experience to bring to this office. I also have a law degree that I received after I left the Air Force, which is incredibly vital and useful for this position. In fact, just prior to this conversation, I had some of my staff in asking some legal questions about how to process a particularly interesting filing that we had. That I think, with the legal background that I have, I can look at it, understand what's going on, understand what needs done with it, and I think it's vital to have that sort of experience and background for this position.
All right, you've obviously, because you've been in the position, you've had a chance to do things, and so this question might be a little more difficult, but what are your priorities if you're reelected?
My priorities, I think, are to continue to bring technological innovation to the office. I think the courts are very heavily paper-based. I think the courts as a whole are moving to more electronic. I think I want to take that and keep that moving forward. Since I've been here, we started a jury management system that's electronic, where jurors can now respond to their jury summonses online electronically. Makes it a lot easier for them. Honestly, it makes it a lot easier for us as well. Our postage costs go down. Our ability to handle those replies and those summons and questionnaires is greatly increased because it's electronic now, and we don't have 1,000 pieces of paper coming into our office that we need to deal with every day. We've started an electronic process to electronically manage our mental health board records that we're responsible for. Those have been paper since the mental health board started. Those are paper when I got here, and we're in the process of making those electronic as well. And something I'm really excited about is an initiative we've got going on, trying to obtain the funding for it, is to take our microfilm records that we have, which go back to the 1860s, 65, 68, something like that. So records 150 years old on microfilm that people still need to get into. And we're trying to, in fact, we started working with a vendor. We're trying to digitize those and index those. So if somebody wants to come find those records on microfilm, they can actually get onto the internet and find that information themselves, instead of calling my office and have one of my staff members go look through the shelves and shelves of microfilm rolls that we have. So that's one of my priorities, is to continue the technological innovation we have. I think my biggest priority is personnel related. I think we've really initiated a culture recently where we have the right people in the office that care about the job they're doing and care about each other. And I think when you care about the job you're doing and you care about those that are around you, it sets the right culture in the office. I think we're really headed towards that, and I want to keep that up. I think since I've been here, since I've been here, we've also changed the way we do things in the sense of these people are responsible for this, these people are responsible for that. We've kind of tried to blur those lines a little bit so everybody's pitching in where they can and where it makes sense to do that. So I think those, as well as keeping a fiscally conservative office are my priorities. I think since I've been here, we've averaged about a 3% increase per year in my time in this office. And I think that's important because we have an important job to do, but I also think we need to be good stewards of the taxpayer money and not, spend that money frivolously.
All right, well, you you already sort of addressed this, but are there any other technological or other sort of efficiency related practices that you see on the horizon next for the office?
And this is, we're an interesting office in that this position is a county elected position. The clerk's office is a county office, staffed by county employees, but we work in a state judiciary. So almost everybody around us is state, and the judges are state. We work with the Supreme Court on a daily basis. They're all state, and we're this little county entity. So the computer systems that we use to track our dockets, track our court records, is the state system. Right now, the county attorneys, starting in January of this year, the state Supreme Court made it mandatory for attorneys to electronically file all of their documents. So right now we have attorneys know how to electronically file. They do that. They've been doing that since January. However, people who represent themselves can't use that system. The system's just not designed for them. And that's a state system, so I can't really get in there and, fix that for them. However, I know the state Supreme Court has been talking about, and I've offered up our, office to say, hey, when we're ready to start doing that, to let the self-represented folks start electronically filing as well, bring it here. We'll be that test bed. And I think that's, I think the next big thing on the horizon, technologically wise, is to get that system designed so that the folks who are representing themselves can electronically file as well.
Are there non-technological things that are out there that you're thinking that the clerk's office needs to respond to?
I think our training program for bringing our folks on board is something I think non-technologically that I'd like to work on. Right now we have, somebody starts in our office and they'll kind of sit with their supervisor and learn how to do things as they go. I think our systems have gotten complicated enough, and we haven't kept up with that in the past, that we've all kind of realized that we need to have a more deliberate and formal training process for our new employees as they come online. And part of that's just, we use that state system, and that system changes. They we were talking about before I started, I went to launch this meeting and Zoom had to update. Well, our systems update all the time as well. And sometimes, there's a new way to do something. So we all learn that as we go, and everybody knows the new way to do it. But then when the new person starts, our procedures manuals haven't been updated. So I think that's one of the focuses we have going on right now. I have one of my folks has really taken that on, taken it to heart, and has started designing some more formal training programs and training procedures for our folks. And I think that's probably the biggest non-technological initiative we've got going on right now. And I think it's probably one of our most important ones as well.
It's strikes me, maybe because I'm naive, a little bit unusual that this is a partisan office. So how does your party affiliation impact the way you approach this job?
I think in some ways relatively marginally. As I mentioned a little bit ago, I try and run a fiscally conservative budget. I try and really keep the costs down where we can. But quite honestly, as the clerk, you have to be pretty neutral. The county attorney, for instance, has prosecutorial discretion and can say, these are the cases I'm going to focus on prosecuting. These are the ones I'm not. A lot of other partisan elected offices can say, here's my priorities and here's what I'm going to focus on. Maybe not focus on this stuff over here very much. But as the clerk of the court, you have to accept everybody that comes in the door and you have to treat them all equally. I think in that sense, it's a nonpartisan office in the sense that, somebody may be coming in that has a felony and has a question about paying their probation fees, has a felony, somebody that's incarcerated is trying to file a lawsuit from prison. And we treat that the exact same way as we do an attorney coming in, filing a divorce case for their client, or somebody coming in asking for a protection order. And in that sense, we have to remain totally neutral to the parties coming before us. So I think that's where the Democrat, Republican, Independent line gets a little blurred. But I think it's important to remember that as the clerk, it's your job to remain totally neutral to really the politics that are going on around you. It just I happen to be a Republican, and some of my Republican conservative ideals show themselves in areas like the fiscally conservative, trying to save money and not spend money needlessly.
All right.
I'm not sure if that answered your question or not.
No, I think that's just a fine answer. I've got one last question for you, but Kent always throws in a couple of questions. So this is
Okay.
when we risk him upsetting his cat when he leans forward to ask a question. So Kent, you got anything?
As somebody who has used your jury summons online thing on
Yes.
more than one occasion, they seem to want to get me on a jury somehow. I was curious as to whether you have, that to me is a system that makes, or a thing that makes the whole contact with your office sort of less intimidating or cumbersome or whatever for the general public, right?
Right.
Are there other things that you can do? Because I think people are a little, that have to deal with the legal system and aren't familiar with it, can just be more, I don't know what to do, this is intimidating. Is there something you can do to help the public in a way on that?
And that's where it gets difficult, because even though it's an elected position, you're still the face of the court, and really the first face of the court most people see, and we have to remain totally neutral. And I will tell you that's incredibly difficult sometimes, because somebody might come in, a mom that says, the father of my children just took my kids 2 weeks ago for parenting time and he won't give them back, and he took them to Oklahoma. What do I do? And unfortunately, as the court, we can't advise that person on what to do. And that's hard. That's very hard. But what we do have is we have resources where we can send those people. There's the Supreme Court has a self-help website. We can send people to legal aid, send people to some other self-help resources to help them out. There's a victim witness and assistance down with Lincoln Police Department on the first floor of our office. So we can send people there. Unfortunately, there's only so much we can do because of the way the court is set up to help people as the clerk, just because we have to remain neutral to them as well, and can't help one side over another side. What we do try and do is make sure that we have resources where we can send them to get that help.
And the other question I pretty much ask every county official is, A, you feel your office is adequately funded, since that is the purview of the county board, and also, do you see a need for an increase in staff in the near future? I assume from your previous answer you feel like you're adequately funded, but I'll let you answer.
You know, it would always be nice to have a few more people around the office. You know, so some days it gets hard to keep up. I will say the county board has never turned me down for anything that I felt I really needed. But then again, I've never gone to ask them for something that you know, they would look at and go, I have no idea why you think you need that. I think I'm adequately staffed right now. I think over the years, the legislature passes new laws that, you know, increases our workload a little bit, and then the next year it increases it a little bit, and a couple years later increases it a little bit. We can keep up with that. I think at a certain point we might get to this place where, you know, we really need one more person to help out to get all the work done we need done. But honestly, I think the things we've done technologically, you know, like with our jury management system, when you sent in your questionnaire electronically, you know, when we have 600 people doing that a month, that really cuts down on my staff's need to open up, you know, 600 envelopes and unfold 600 pieces of paper and file them in a file folder. So I think that was a long answer to say, in short, I think I'm staffed well, and I think the county board has funded my office adequately.
All right, Kent, is that it?
I'm good.
All right, so Troy, the last question for you. What have we not asked you that we should have asked you?
You know, I think this office is an office that a lot of voters don't really understand what we do. And in some ways that's good, because a lot of people don't ever want to be involved in the court. I totally get that. But I think people don't understand how complex this office is, you know, and I say we really have 4 major functions in this office, and only one of those is the clerk of the district court. So, you know, we have, you know, I say our 4 functions are: number 1, we're the clerk of the district court, and we handle all the records for the court and all the money that flows through the court. But we're also the clerk for the separate juvenile court. We're one of 3 counties in the state that has a separate juvenile court, and I'm the clerk for that court as well. So really, I'm the clerk for 2 courts. And between those 2 courts and 12 judges and 1 child support referee, we handle 10 to 12,000 new and reopened cases per year. And we have about $1 million flowing through the office per month. Everything from filing fees, probation fees, settlements, judgments, things like that. The third thing we do is the jury commissioner, and we summons about 1,000 people a month to sit on juries for both district and county courts. And the fourth really function we have is the record keeper for the mental health board, which is a board that works with the county attorney and public defender to people who the county attorney thinks might be a danger to themselves or others because of mental health issues are brought before that board. And we keep all the records for that board as well. So there's a lot of moving parts in this office, and I think people really don't understand everything that goes into it. And I think it's really important that you have somebody that has the experience and the background to run that office. You know, it's not something you can come into on day one and really have a good feel for what you're going to need to be doing. And I think my background and experience really, really is vital to making sure this office keeps operating as well as it can.
All right, well, Troy, I think that takes care of it for all of our questions. You beat the 30 minutes by a couple of minutes, so
All right.
you're obviously efficient. So.
Well, that's what we strive for. So.
All right. Well, we wish you the best. We thank you for your time today.
All right. Thank you for your time, both of you, and hope you have a good day, and hope that cat doesn't have to wake up from the nap yet.
Well, he's still sound asleep.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you both. Take care.